Hi everyone. I think you all know me by now. I'd like to introduce you to Vicki Stevens. And she had presented Morocco to us. She's a former teacher for the Pleasanton Unified School District, and she is a member of a lot of photography clubs. So whatever I miss, she'll tell you. Okay? So she's going to present Vietnam and Cambodia to us today.
Thank you very much, Srila. Thank you for having me, and thank you for the intro. My name is Vicki Stevens, and I like photography. And so I've been studying photography since I retired. And the reason this is called Vietnam and Cambodia, a different perspective, is because it wasn't just a tour group that I went with. It was a small group, but it was a photography workshop. So a lot of the things we saw, other tourists won't have seen. I traveled with a woman named Catherine Carno. Her father was Stanley Carno. Anybody know Stanley Carno? He was a photojournalist and very well known, I guess. Actually, I didn't know him, but I guess he's pretty well known. Anyway, his daughter Catherine spoke at a conference that I was at, and I met her, and she runs these really lovely workshops in different parts of the world, and this one is the one I thought, I've never been to Asia, so let's give this a try. I talked my husband into going, even though it was a photography workshop. But he did his best. A couple people used their phones for this workshop, and the rest of us had cameras. But there were only like 8 of us, I think. 8. So this is just a neighborhood street scene here in, let's see where, this is in Hanoi, which is where we landed in the first place that we spent a week. We spent a week in Hanoi, and this is a neighborhood where there was a village market. There was a market going on, and this woman's selling flowers, and you see flowers being sold all over Vietnam. Flowers are very important. People give them as gifts, and they have a lot of meaning. I mean, we do this too, but, there. I guess I gotta move those slides faster. Okay. There we go. Okay. What happened to my? There we go. So we'll see more flower vendors coming up because they're just all over. This is a common scene in the old quarter. This woman has brought some food, some vegetables. I'm not sure if she was actually, some people were actually making a dish that people were buying to take home and eat, or she might just be selling vegetables.
Vicki, may I ask?
Yeah.
What year is
This
this?
is 24.
Oh,
This is last fall.
year.
We went last fall, yes. And the motorcycle, everybody rides a motorcycle. They're much more common than cars there. So motorcycles all over the place. This is a lotus, national flower of Vietnam, and this is just in the garden of the hotel we were staying at. But there were many. I mean, you see lotus all over. This is called they called it a cyclo, like a cycle, right? Because it's a bicycle with 3 wheels, and this is the driver taking a nap because no business is slow, I guess. But we got to ride in one later. Let's see. Here are all the motorcycles. All over the place. And when there's a lot of motorcycles, you need a place to park them. People are driving them to school, to work, whatever. You see a whole families sitting on a motorcycle. Like, I thought I had a slide where there's like three people, a mom and 2 kids, and one baby strapped to her. And I mean, it was just incredulous. Instead of a family car, you have a family motorcycle, and they'd all be on there. This is so we got there a couple days early to acclimate, and so this was not part of the tour. We went to the Maison Centrale is the Hanoi Hilton. It was the prison that was used during the Vietnam War for political prisoners and American POWs. This is where John McCain was held. This is a typical cell where he might have been. This is the guillotine. I just really like this photo. I know it's kind of gruesome, But this was the guillotine they used to obviously behead many prisoners. This is a memorial garden, which if you study the embedded sculptures there, it's a bit gruesome too. But anyways, it was kind of a lovely patio area that was a memorial. Just a street scene, very busy. I wanted to note these chairs, okay, these stools, plastic stools are used in outdoor restaurants all over. They have these little stools that are very very low, and it was really interesting that there would be a table that was low also, and they would be sitting at it eating. And I thought, well, I just found it interesting. Okay, this was near our hotel. This is the. I brought notes. No, I didn't get them on. I think it's the Hom Kim Lake. So, but it was nicknamed the Lake of the Lost Sword, and I don't really know the whole story behind that. And this little island, there's a little island right here, and it's called Turtle Island now, but originally was a tomb. It was a tomb for somebody, and it had a different name, and now it's called Turtle Island. There were turtles in this lake, big turtles. We saw not a live one, let's say, in a temple. So it was National Women's Day, and all the women, you'd see all these women dressed beautifully with bouquets of flowers because it was a very special day. All the women had flowers. This is the same lake, and this is this red bridge is the Hook Bridge, and it goes over to Jade Island. It goes over to another little island called Jade Island. And this was just a group of school kids that I thought was very cute, all in their uniforms and hooked together like they're going on a field trip. Yeah. So here's the same bridge, the Hook Bridge, that's going over to Jade Island, and on the island is this altar that people would walk up to and light some incense. But then you went through another gate. These ladies are standing right below that same altar. So they're wearing the national dress, which is called an oyai, and it's like a long tunic that's slit all the way up, and they have pants on under it. And this is what most women are wearing, and they come in, casual and formal. But this is National Women's Day, and there were a lot of women out in their finest dress, and a lot of picture taking going on. And so somebody was taking a picture of them, and I just stood there and took one too. So, okay, this is the temple that's on the island, and you can see where all the incense is right here. People honoring. There are some people that are buried in here, and I don't know exactly what their names were, but people come here quite often and pay tribute. And this gentleman is burning fake money. And I asked somebody why that is. So they do burn money. It's not real money, and they're sending it to their ancestors. So they burn different things that they want to give to their ancestors in their afterlife to make life better for them. A picture of Ho Chi Minh. So the first president and leader in Vietnam. He's quite revered. You'll see pictures and statues around. And there is a city named after him, which is now Saigon. Here's a flower vendor. It's a typical flower vendor. Like, she's on her bicycle, and she's got that thing loaded up. It's got to be quite heavy. And she just is going to sit there along the street and sell probably many, many flowers. Again, this is the Women's Day, so business is probably good. She's got a lot of lotus there. And sorry?
Basket.
That's a basket.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. That's right here. Yeah, that's a basket holding all the flowers. You see the flowers coming all the way up here. Yeah. So I was told that a lot of people come in from the countryside with goods to sell, usually vegetables and flowers, but they've come in from a ways on their bicycle. Okay, clickers. There we go. So this is just a waitress at our hotel, but she had the most beautiful oyai on right here, and wearing the typical hat, conical hat. So I don't know. I just thought it was the most beautiful. She looked beautiful in it, and I love the color. And thought, remember, this is a photography workshop, so we were taking lots and lots of pictures. This was my lunch a different day, not that day. And this fruit on the top that looks like grapefruit is not grapefruit. It's called pomelo. I don't know if you ever had that or seen it. It's a big, large melon, and it's very good. And it's served on a whole thing of avocado, a whole base of avocado. It was delicious. Yeah. Okay, this is when we really got down to the photography. Those were all snapshots I had taken around because we came a couple days early. And now we're actually on a photo shoot at a fashion house. This is a place where they design and make clothes. And it's called Chula. I don't know if you've ever heard of them or not. They do sell, I think, in different parts of the world. But the owner is Laura right here. This woman is Laura, and she's the owner, and her husband was the designer, but he had passed away suddenly, a couple years ago or something. It was very tragic. And this is Catherine. She is the photographer that's leading this whole workshop, and that's her assistant, Crystal, behind her. So this is a really cool place. It was very photogenic because it's so colorful and kind of funky looking. And that's the dress that Laura was wearing is one from their collection. So anyways, this is their inner courtyard. It was all open air. There's no roof here. And so what we did, Catherine hired the models that actually usually work for Laura for a show, like a fashion show. And they were at our disposal for the day. So we got to take pictures of them in the clothes and wherever. We could ask them to sit here or there, or we could direct them what we wanted them to do, and it was really fun. It was really fun to do. And then finally we just said, okay, just relax and go do whatever. And so we were there for a few hours at least photographing. This woman I really like. She was very photogenic. This is a customer coming to pick up her dress and trying it on. That's the dress that she's trying on right there, and which was beautiful. And she was beautiful. I said, God, you could be one of the models. And this black and white collection right here was the current collection of the house. So the red against the black and white was, I thought, really lovely. And I'm glad I got to see a customer wearing one of her dresses. Okay. This is one of the seamstresses. So there's a whole community of deaf women who make the clothes. It was really interesting. And so she was in there helping recreating this design on the fabric, I think. And then here's a woman wearing another oyai, and she's one of the models, and that is part of their collection that she's wearing. See how that is slit all the way up, and that's intentional. And then they wear pants under it. And then she was just looking over the shoulder of one of the seamstresses. And again, all the women were deaf, so it was very quiet in the room, obviously. But some of the women it was really funny because you could see when they were really getting into a discussion and they were using their hands, and it was kind of funny. This is up top, looking down. The models are over here, and people are shooting them. And then here's one over here, and there was a counter over here that people very friendly went to where there were drinks. And so, and this, actually right here, that's my husband. You'll see him in a few pictures. But these people are from our group, our photography group. Here's the models again. Now they're kind of relaxed and just kind of hanging out. And this is the customer again, and she has become friends with Laura. So there's Laura, and they're both wearing chula dresses. I ended up buying a shirt there. Of course, it's handmade stuff and it's a little pricey, but it was still it's very lovely. So this was also a photo shoot day. Now we've changed. We've left Chula. We're going the next day. We go to visit this man's home. This is Bien Giap. He is the son of Admiral Giap, who was the admiral in the Vietnam War. He led the Vietnamese troops, and we went to visit his son, who's also friends with Catherine. And we're right next to where he's standing is his father's altar. He's been gone for a while now. But a few weeks before we got there, his mother also passed away. So that is why he is wearing this black armband in tribute to his mother in mourning. And so we had brought flowers for the altar. And we got to go spend time in his father, the admiral's conference room. And there was a lot of stuff in there to see that was really cool. And we got to sit around the table with him and just ask him questions. We could ask whatever we want. It was really fascinating. I won't go into whole discussions right now, but it was very interesting. And we had a nice time with him. And there he is with my husband again. So on the grounds of his home, at the family home, there are several pieces of machinery from the war. And there was even like a rocket launcher and this truck and jeeps and things like that. Again, very kind of interesting. Then we went to lunch at this restaurant and we experienced a dish we had not had yet. And this is a catfish stir fry with lots of vegetables, and they cook that down. It doesn't really, they're doing it's in a wok here. They cook those greens cook down pretty quick, and they just keep adding the greens, and they keep adding greens, and then they give you like peanuts and sauce, and you serve it over some rice. Absolutely delicious. So good. So this coming up is an art day. We saw a lot of art in Vietnam. And this image is just from the hotel, and I thought this art is really beautiful too. I mean, the hotel was like a piece of art, and then this image, I really liked this. What happened? I think I probably hit a button that I shouldn't have hit. I'm sorry. Oh darn! Let me see if I can pull this out here. Anyway, I really like the artwork in the hotel was my point. Okay, this is a historical art museum, and we had a guide with us who was a scholar on Vietnamese art, and she was telling us all about how the art changed from pre-war, during the war, after the war, and it was again quite interesting. And this was just a beautiful building too. This is a couple of samples of things we saw in there. I really love this piece. Yeah. Another flower vendor. Here we go on a motorcycle, and these people everybody's got a bouquet in their hand. But I just couldn't get over how much they would put on the back of a motorcycle or a bicycle. It was always amazing. Okay, this woman owned an art gallery called Art Vietnam, and now the gallery, she no longer has the gallery space, but her home, which is a beautiful custom home, is the gallery. So her home was filled with art, and you could purchase it if you wanted. I mean, it's a gallery, and you can shop if you want. But we were there; she had invited us for dinner, and so this is her staff, and they had all worked on cooking for us, and you can see some of the art in here. Going up the staircase, all of these brass figurines are the zodiac signs. Yeah, and she's got some pieces hanging over here. Then we went upstairs, and there was a little courtyard outside with a koi pond. Koi is very important, very symbolic in Vietnam too. We saw many koi ponds, and it's supposed to show what's it supposed to show? I can't remember now. Again, notes that I never got out of my bag. So this is actually her bedroom. Went upstairs, and we were in this gallery area, and then turn around, and here's her bed. And so she has an Asian bed where she picks up all of the bedding and puts it away in the closet for the day. So this is how her bed looks during the day. But even this room is filled with art, as you can see. Okay, she's got a small drum and a little striker, and she's saying a little sort of blessing for the dinner. But you can see the food here. It was absolutely delicious. Spring rolls and rice and all kinds of stuff. I can't remember. It was a lot of dishes that they had cooked us. And that's Catherine there too. Catherine and Suzanne are good friends. Okay, this is just a neighborhood that we're going to visit. We're going to go visit one of the artists that Suzanne represents. But before we get there, we pass this this courtyard where this man is exercising, and it's got a lot of machines, kind of like a park course in there. And these were common. We saw these at different places around Vietnam, and there were always people out there using the equipment. Whereas here, I've seen park courses, and it's seldom being used. But they take their exercise pretty seriously, and they take care of themselves very well. So this is Ha Tri Hue. He's a very renowned artist, painter in Vietnam, and that's one of his pieces behind him, actually, right there. That's one of his pieces. He's very contemporary, but he was back like in the 1980s. He was part of this group of artists, all men, called the Gang of Five, and they became very demonstrative in changing their art away from state-mandated art. And he became quite successful. And so Suzanne represents these men as artists, contemporary artists. So he was very interesting. He's got a pipe here. He had like 30 pipes sitting on the table. He's got a whole collection of them. But and he was not painting on this day. We went to visit him. His home is his gallery and his workshop. It's where he paints. So we got to go around the whole thing and photograph anything we wanted, including him, and interview him and ask him questions, and that was quite fascinating. And let's see. This is one of the areas where he paints, but he has a different area where he paints. On this day, he was kind of just more studying. At one point, we found him on his phone, sitting in that same place on his phone, and Catherine asked him what he was doing, and he said he was studying other artists, which he does a lot. Looking for ideas, looking for, it's like research. Doing research. So I sat in this room for a while and took several pictures of his equipment, and the lighting in here was wonderful, which I can see why he paints in here. And here's a painting that he is currently working on. So he lives in like a tenement where that man was exercising out there, and you could tell it was a pretty rundown area. This is where he lives. That was on our way to his apartment, and it was like a tenement house. And what he does is when one is empty and it comes up for sale, he buys it, and then he expands his gallery and workspace. So he had several of these units, and he was upstairs and downstairs. It was a really, really interesting space that he worked in. Here he is on the phone studying, researching, and this is where we spent some interview time with him. Oh, he had a number of these boxes or other containers that he painted on, and we asked him why do you do that? And it's like, well, something on the box inspires some kind of picture or scene, and so he paints on it. But you almost always see some portion of the label, okay? But he had a number of these, including, he had a pan that he painted. He paints on just about everything. That was really interesting. Okay, now, so we spent some time in there, and then while we were doing that, half of our group was out walking around the neighborhood, just taking pictures around the neighborhood. And so that's what, now we've swapped, and now we're walking around the neighborhood. This lady was just really smiley and nice. And she's pushing this stroller. Kind of like people push a shopping cart, I think. I don't know if she was partially using it for stability there, but to carry things around. Anyways, we seemed quite welcome in the neighborhood. People were very friendly. This lady was doing her laundry for the day. This I found kind of fascinating. You saw these all over. I kept seeing these. Like, what are these? They were on all these walls. This is somebody's name and phone number, and it's an advertisement for concrete work. So all over these decayed concrete, these people are advertising themselves if you want to hire somebody. But there were so many, I thought, wow, how does a person choose? Lady coming in with her, probably to sell her vegetables, because it looks like a lot of veggies there. Bicycle. The barbers were outdoors, just on a corner or a sidewalk somewhere. They set up, and then you could go get shave and a haircut. Yeah. We went by the market. This is the fishmonger, and there were live chickens and some ducks. Lots of eggs, different kinds of eggs. Husband and wife selling their vegetables. Okay, so that was our time in Hanoi, and now we're going to drive down to Hue. And this is Hue is where the imperial capital of Vietnam is. The original capital, which has now moved to Hanoi, and so this scene right here is part of the citadel, which housed, the royal family. This is back entrance to the hotel we stayed at, and I just really loved it. It just shows how artistic this place is. It was very artistic inside and out, and it had a very Art Deco design. This was the clerk, and she really wanted me to take her picture. So I did, and then I sent it to her. Here we are. We're going to go on our cyclo ride because we're staying next to that citadel, so they're going to take us for a ride, and we're going to end up going over there. And they travel out in the traffic with the motorcycles and the cars and everything. It's a little grueling, but you get used to it, and then we were really pretty safe. Here we are. So we took a little tour around, and we went in. Now we're entering the citadel, which is now basically ruins, and but it is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Buildings inside that you can see, and we came during some kind of ceremony that they were kind of setting up for. You can see the grin on the guy's face. They really just kind of posed for the picture, but they were getting ready for some kind of ceremony. This is one of the passageways that was really beautiful. These on both sides are doors. These seem to all be open, and I can't. Maybe over here too. Can't quite tell. This is one of the gates, one of the main gates. I think there's 4 main gates, and you can still see all the color and though they're decayed, I think they still look really beautiful. I really like them. I wanted to point out right through here. You can see on both sides. There's a wall. There's a wall that goes across there, and the wall is meant to keep bad things out from coming into the building or the area. So you'll often see inside main gates, you'll see a wall like that. More passageways that I just thought looked wonderful. All right, this was our guide. She was our tour guide for the Citadel, and this is a yo-yo she's wearing, and it was just so beautiful. I had to get a picture of her in it. So. And there's a lot of wonderful tile work on the buildings, and I just got an up-close picture of this. It's a phoenix. You can see his face right there. And wings. Anyways, he was really lovely, that phoenix. This is just more of the grounds that were just beautiful, beautiful. There's a photographer up there. Picture. Really lovely area that's surrounded the Citadel. Then we went to a pagoda, where, this is also in Hue, where the nuns and the monks live in different pagodas or temples. And this is the head nun. They all have shaved heads, and sometimes it's a little hard to tell. But we were right now in the area where the nuns live, and it was a really beautiful area, as you can see by these surroundings. Very lush, like kind of forested area. This was like the house pet, the dog. Here they are, bringing in the laundry. It was another thing where we were just photographing them, doing what they naturally do around, So this was, I guess, wash day, and then this gal was about to leave to go somewhere, and but we wanted to photograph her, and she was carrying a big plastic bag, and we said, "What do you have in that bag?" She had bananas in the bag, amongst other things, I think, and so we said, "Can we take a picture of you with those bananas?" And she was really a smiley girl. We had to try to get a serene. We were trying to get a serene look on her face, and we finally did. Anyway, she was and right after this, she got on a motorcycle with somebody and was being taken away. Yeah. So this is the older woman again, and we said, "Okay, what would you be doing right now if we weren't here?" And she said, "Probably gardening today." And so we said, "Well, please go ahead." And so she did, and we just photographed her doing what she would normally be doing if we weren't there. So she was gardening, and then when she was done, she washed her feet. And so this was actually just very kind of sweet, because they're just like the rest of us, You get dirty, you clean, but who's ever seen a picture of a nun washing her feet? Probably none of us, yeah, till now. Then we went just down the road to where the men live. And we spent quite a bit of time over there photographing. Their area where they are was much bigger, and there's more. I think 70 monks live here. Yeah, we were just taking photos of them and the surroundings. And this gal is really. So this is the nun that went down with us to where the men were. So she was following us around. And that's Catherine. And Catherine takes her own pictures during these workshops too. And then she takes her photos or some of her students' photos, and she gives them to the people the next year when she goes back. So she's giving her, and they just this expression is typical. They just love getting photos of themselves. So we were about to have a meditation with them, and this guy is striking a drum, kind of ceremonial. And then we went and sat in this area at the altar. And we did a little meditation. This guy, I thought, was the most serene-looking fellow. And I just wanted to photograph him. So I did. And a lot of us did too. This is the head monk who came out at the end. And he was quite nice and chatty. He spoke some English. Some of them didn't speak any English. So that night we went out to this restaurant. It was really fun. So this arm right here is my husband. He had asked the chef if he knew how to make a martini, specifically a Vesper, which is the James Bond martini. And he said, "No, what is that?" So he proceeded to tell him, and I think he went and looked it up. And so he made one for Jack, and he made one for himself. And so they're having a toast. So it was kind of a fun moment. And he liked it. Yeah. Okay, now this day we went out to a little village outside of town, still in Hue though, and it was we were out there to take a motorcycle ride. We all had a driver, and we were on the back, and we rode motorcycles. And so then we get off, and we're just wandering this neighborhood. It's a little village neighborhood, and that was really cool. That's like one of my favorite things. So here's somebody on their motorcycle hauling, looks like lotus leaves. I'm not sure, but anyway, bringing something somewhere down. I wandered down this little street, like where there were homes, and this woman and her daughter were out in their little courtyard. And so I just I was trying to, talk to them and just, exclaim about the daughter and how cute she was. No English. They didn't have any English. Now I want you to note what she's wearing. It's a pair of pajamas, right? It's not because it's morning and she hasn't gotten dressed yet. Pajamas are a typical thing to wear, not just to go to bed. they wear them for clothes. And it's mostly just to be practical. They're comfortable and they're cooler in the hot weather. And you'll see a lot of women wearing pajamas during the day. This happened a couple of times when I interfaced with some people, women and they were just wearing their pajamas. But it's just like clothing to them. So that was a little different. And so she let me take their picture. This woman, this is a typical way to carry large amounts of stuff. You see, it's a bamboo pole that rests on the shoulder. Still got to be pretty heavy, but they can carry much more because look at what's piled in those two baskets at either end, hanging from that. So she's taking. I looked at it closely. It looks like recyclables she was taking somewhere, but a typical way to carry things. This woman, it was making and currently folding these. They almost look like paper dolls. That's like kind of paper dolls. And this is another thing they were going to just burn. So I thought this is a whole lot of work and craftsmanship that goes into these. And this is another thing that they will burn. I don't know the symbolism behind burning, a person, unless you're, sending that person to your ancestors. I don't know. I don't really know. I should look more into that one. Anyways, it was just a kind of a colorful scene. This is in just a little cafe. They're the tiniest little cafes. We did not eat here, but we spoke to the people in there and the people that ran it. And what I didn't initially notice was that this man. I was taking a picture of him, washing pots, of course, and just this whole scene I really liked. And then later I noticed right here. Is this the fire? That's where they cook right there. So they cook and then they clean right next to each other. And so what they were serving was this noodle dish with like a mushroom sauce. So this was the lunch, and then he's cleaning up after. But I thought that was just really interesting that the fire was right next to the sink, kind of. Yeah. This is just a couple of women socializing in the neighborhood. Meat seller. I just thought it was interesting. Like they're both just handling the meat. I just think about what we do when we handle. You go to the store, everybody's got the gloves on and being very sanitary. So I would say this was pretty unsanitary. But so they're both looking at is this a decent enough piece of meat kind of thing. This is one of my favorites. This lady is actually part of this group right here. And they're selling their vegetables. And in the back, see the bicycles in the back? So they came in from the countryside with their vegetables to sell in the village. And I don't know, they're just something about this woman. There's just like a whole lot of stories and wisdom in that face. And I just really loved it. Okay, this is a pharmacy. So I walked up, and this lady in the chair immediately started chatting to me. She had a few words of English, but mostly not. And then this woman was the woman behind the counter. This was the woman behind the counter. She didn't speak any English, but this lady was in her 90s, and she told me that. And then we were trying to find common ground here, and we ended up talking about grandkids in the way that we could, with not really understanding each other's language. We did a pretty good job. And anyways, and then I asked if I could take her picture. And so she was such an animated woman. And then when I asked to take her picture, she just went so blank. So anyway, she was interesting. And then this woman, who was behind the counter in the pharmacy, was really upset that I wasn't wearing a hat. And she went back in her back room, and she got one and gave it to me and made me wear it. So I had this hat of hers that I wore then for the rest of the trip until I left it on a bus somewhere. And then it was gone. I thought, well, okay, somebody else gets to use that hat now. These planting rice in a rice paddy. This is looking out the window from a restaurant we were at. And right next to that lot was this lot with the water buffalo. So that was really cool. And it's raining, you can kind of tell. but I think that was the only time I saw the water buffalo. This is the home of one of our guides, whom we haven't seen yet, but you will. And he invited us all for lunch. So this is just walking in his front door. This is the family altar right here, and we're going to eat on either side over here. So this was really lovely in and of itself. And then his wife and sister-in-law, I think, cooked lunch for us. So we had fish that was beautiful and and very decorative. And then we had salad and we had mushrooms. So what we did was Catherine sort of impromptu made this a food photography session, and we were all photographing the different dishes. This is a dragon fruit. It comes in red and white, very delicious. And this is a mangosteen, which was part of dessert. And you eat this part right here, and again, wow, it was really good, and I had never had that before. As we were leaving, their front courtyard had a koi pond, as I told you, a lot of them do. The koi are fun to photograph because they have mouths open looking for food. When somebody walks up, I think they think they're going to be fed. So this was the guide right here, Ton. This was his wife. It is his wife, and that's her sister, and that's who prepared lunch for us. And we're just saying goodbye. So we left Hue and we went to Hoi An. Now, as we were going to Hoi An, you can see it's on our river right there. We were told that a typhoon was coming through, and so they had to cancel one of our photo shoots, which was at a fishing village. But on our way to Hoi An, we did pass by a little fishing village, so we just got a few pictures, just sort of really quick. We stopped and got out and got a few photos of these little fishing huts, which were kind of cool. And then the boat coming in, and these sticks, I think, all are related to fishing. Like, I don't know if they're holding traps or nets down there, but there's some relationship there. And you got more huts. We drove down the coast and made a couple stops to take some photos. We went over some mountains, a mountain range, and we were at a roadside stop that had some gorgeous views, and this train was snaking its way through, which was kind of cool. This is a banh mi stand, which is a famous sandwich in Vietnam, and it's really yummy. We hadn't had one yet, but we are in just a minute. We're gonna have. This is a sunset in Da Nang. Here we are in Hoi An. This is a picture from our room. We're right on the water. This is a boat right here. This is a boat where you can belong to the hotel, so you can sit out there and drink or eat. So I really want to show you this palm tree. So just remember the palm tree right there. Okay. This is the boat again, the whole thing, and just a really lovely setting to sort of sit and hang out. We would go have a glass of wine there. And this is a restaurant we went to, and this right here is a bread oven. And this guy, which I think is right here, no, he took us inside. So we're really fascinated with the whole sourdough thing. He made sourdough bread. It's the only kind of bread he served. And we love sourdough bread. And my husband is lactose intolerant. So this is one of those breads he can have almost everywhere he goes. So he brought us into his kitchen. The guy brought us into his kitchen, and we were learning his whole life story, which was very interesting. And then, we saw the people making the bread, and was his sourdough bread oven. And then this is him, Duke, and he was a wonderful chef. He has a few restaurants in the area, and I think we ended up going to all of them. This one is called Mango Rooms, and we went there at least 2 or 3 times. It was so good. Here is the same palm tree when the typhoon hit. So it did come through, and we did have some high winds, but it really was not too much of anything, really. I was a little disappointed because it canceled the whole photo shoot for us because the fishermen were not going to go out in that. So that's what we were going to be photographing. So anyway, it did come through. The guy is throwing his net in right here, which I thought was interesting. Fisherman. Okay, this is our interpreter for the trip. She went everywhere with us, and and she's eating one of those sandwiches I told you about, the banh mi. So we did. This is where we all had one. Was in the airport. They had arranged for us all to have one while we were waiting for our flight. And because we were flying to Cambodia, and we went to Siem Reap, which is where we stayed for a week. And this picture right here is our first look at Angkor Wat. So Siem Reap is where all the there's a huge temple complex there, and Angkor Wat is one of the temples, and it is, this is another UNESCO site, of course. This is entering our hotel. This is a Ganesha, I think that's called, and he has an elephant head, and he has 4 arms and 2 legs, and he's, to welcome you and good, to give you good luck. So that was right in the entry of the hotel. This is the picture from our room, and it was just, isn't it beautiful? We spent a week here. It was so lovely. And this down here is the restaurant, and it's just so lush. There were some lotus in here. I can't see any at the moment, but there were some on both sides. Anyway, really lovely place to hang out for a week. We went to visit another artist here named Team. This is Team's gallery. Now, he's a painter, and a lot of his inspiration comes from the Khmer, who were the people of Cambodia, or are the people of Cambodia. And so he has a whole museum in his gallery of things from the Khmer people, and this is like a wedding attire. So there were quite a few things in there. I didn't photograph them all because I was really more interested in the gallery. And this woman right here is named Maddie, and she's the sister of the painter, and she runs the gallery. And these are people from our group. And so this is one of her brother's paintings right here. Yeah, he has an interesting style. And this one is really interesting because, look, he's got, this aspect up here that looks quite different than this one down here. So there's some story here. Right? I don't know, but the grounds were gorgeous, statues and lovely gardens. This is their mother. So this is Team's mother, and Maddie, the woman in red. That's their mom. And I was trying to get a good portrait of her. Finally got this one, and she was one of the women so the Khmer people had there was a ugly war that went on, and led by the Khmer Rouge, who were trying to bring the communism in, and they killed many people. So there was really a genocide going on, and she was one of the women who escaped. This woman right here, and by hiding in a rice paddy, so being under the water. Yeah. I wish I heard more of that story, but that's all I really got. And here's a mother-daughter photo. Yeah. And then we had our temple day. So there are several temples here, and you could spend days probably, but we were only here for a day. And in the morning, we went to Angkor Wat, which is the main one. So this is the entrance we went in. You can see there's still, you can see it here too. They still are working on, modifications. There's scaffolding in some places. And this place is huge. You know what? Yeah, okay, so this wing, this is sort of the central area. There's this wing that goes like this, and then there's another one on this side that goes out here. So it is quite, and then it goes, then it's deep also. So quite large. It's considered one of the largest, if not the largest, religious site in the world. These are just some of the passageways that you actually could walk through. You couldn't go everywhere. It is covered with bas reliefs that tell a whole story also, and they have guides around that can tell you the story of what you're looking at any moment if you want. But really beautiful. This whole wall is covered with them all the way down. And it's not the only wall like that. There were a lot of young monks that were visiting the temples, right? It's a very famous religious site. So these young boys were there. This is like a profile. Like a profile of Angkor Wat, this way. And turning these into black and white I had turned several of them into black and white, and they were just gorgeous. So I wanted to get a close-up of the tower, and I don't know if you can tell, but up here are all individual carvings all over here. So another beautiful piece of artwork. The architecture and the art here is just gorgeous. So we went to lunch. We spent quite a bit of time at Angkor Wat. And when we came back, we went to another temple. This one is called Tapong. And it looks quite different. Yeah. It looks quite different. And it obviously is crumbling. There's a lot of crumbling going on. Things have fallen down. And again, lots of carvings here. Really, but just beautiful in its ruined state. Just happened to be a lady sitting there. So this one is the one, I don't know if you've seen or heard of this before, but it has all of these trees. It has, what's it called, a fig, something fig, strangling fig or something like that. And there's a few different kinds of trees that all have sort of encompassed parts of the brick stonework, like this. See the roots? So the roots, the plant is actually just growing around the building. And it's really fascinating to see. And this one, yeah, this was a cool angle coming down. Again, lots of carvings and artwork right alongside the roots. This is beautiful. And look at this, King. It was fascinating to see. Look at this one. Wow. And a lot of people come there to have pictures taken amongst the ruins. And with all of these tree roots coming down that are just, add to the beauty. These people were doing wedding photos there, and we sat and watched for a little bit as they were getting their wedding pictures taken. And we were taking pictures, too, of them. But they had a photographer there. Then we went to another temple called Bayon, which is the temple right in the center of this huge complex. And it's known for these faces that are carved on it. Now, they don't know exactly who the people are that are on the carvings, but some think it's a Buddha, and some think it's the king at the time. But anyways, lots and lots of faces. But again, very beautiful. And then there was this monkey hanging out in the parking lot. And there was a monkey in amongst the ruins in another place. I got a few pictures of him. But anyway, a little unexpected, but cool. Yeah. These, I really don't know who these women are. I thought that maybe they were vendors of some kind, and they were, it was later in the day. Maybe they were cleaning up for the day. But anyway, they were just really interesting. And these gentlemen also, and they're counting their money that they made that day. So I was almost eye level, you could see, with the money. And so I'm taking pictures, and this guy on the left over here, he looked at me sideways, like, give me not a very good look. Yeah. Then when we left Bayonne, which is the one with the bases, we had to cross this bridge called the South Bridge, and it is got like a precipice on each side that is got carvings on it. So one side of the bridge has carvings of gods, and the other side of the bridge has carvings of demons. And they were really really interesting. They were mostly intact. There were some pieces missing, but mostly intact. And it ran over that river that made for some really awesome photos. And it was getting, later we're getting the late afternoon light and the sun's going down. This is a tuk-tuk, which is another thing that's kind of like a taxi. The Sequoia is like a taxi, too. And then, so you can hire these guys to drive you around. So this is in our hotel. It was Halloween while we were there. And instead of candy, they fry... Oh, wait, back. They fry insects. These are all fried insects. And they've got herbs on them and stuff. So I did taste a few, and actually they were pretty tasty. But there are some things I was not going to put. No, I'm just not going to eat because they had. I think this one that really is pretty empty now had a really big spider, like a tarantula, only maybe even a little bit bigger. And people were eating those, but I couldn't bring myself to one of those. One of them had, I think this one right here had a little, had some like little tiny frogs. I couldn't do that either. But I ate a cricket and a grasshopper, I think. Anyways, they were pretty tasty because, like I said, they had yummy herbs on them that were really good. And then you'll notice back here, they don't have pumpkins, but they have all other kinds of gourds that they carved. And it was just up here for the one day, and then they took it down. It was really fun. And up there it says, Happy Halloween. Try some, I think it says bugs. Try some bugs if you dare. This was just, a guy selling dragon fruit. The dragon fruit, the one that you saw earlier that was pink with the black seeds in it. That's what that is. But again, look at, he's pulling that trailer with a motorcycle. Isn't that amazing? Yeah. We saw some really large trailers of goods being hauled behind a motorcycle. And that was one of them. Okay. This day, we went to visit this lovely family. This is Nil and Pia and their son Nil. He's 17 years old. And this man, Nil, is a landmine survivor. So he's one of the ones that stepped on a landmine and lost his leg. This is a prosthesis that he has. And we spent the day with them. Jack, just my husband and I, we were sent off in groups like that, so 2 people to a family. And the families that they chose for us to visit were, very positive about talking about their experience. And this man was amazing. So he was, I wouldn't even say drafted. He was pulled out of his home one day and had to go to war for the Khmer Rouge when he was 17. And there was no saying no. If you said no, they took retribution on your whole family and took everything they had. So you didn't really have a choice. So he went, and his attitude is that I did what I had to do because we got to interview him again. We had a translator with us, and we could ask him anything we wanted. And I said, well, he told us a story about how it happened. Which, he stepped on a landmine when he was in the war. And so when these survivors came home, then they were shunned, and they still are. They can't find work. So he, I think he was a tuk-tuk driver for a little bit. I don't know that he was doing anything right now. But anyways, it's really hard to find a job. He does get a small pension. But what we're seeing right here is their home. It is like a tin shack. And this is where we sat. There's no furniture in there. You just sit on the floor. The floor is covered like with contact paper. It's just wood covered with a contact paper. There was a little table here, and over on this side there was a mattress that was pushed up against the wall, and stuff shoved back there. But really, there was no furniture in this home. And you can see she's wearing the pajamas, like I spoke about earlier. And I think they were some designer name. I can't remember what it was, but anyways, this pretty solemn picture. But this woman Pia was actually, when we got there, when we first arrived, she came running out and hugged me and was so happy we were there, and just she just was a very excited woman. And he was very nice, not quite as demonstrative, but he was very talkative, and he could, when he smiled. So here, she was a very smiley woman. He generally, but when he did, it was a really big smile. So if you got him smiling. But anyways, he had a really good attitude. He did not. I said, are you angry at the government, or you get a small pension and he can't find a job? His family's very poor, and he said, no. He just, his attitude was, I was doing my job. This happened, and I have to carry on with life. It was truly amazing. This is under their house, so the house is up on stilts. And underneath is the kitchen. And this is right over here actually is where she cooks. So she does the cooking. She's the one who runs this kitchen. So what had happened was it actually has it had like a wooden roof up here. You see, so this is under the house, but just out from the side of the house, because they're cooking under there. And the roof was falling apart, and part of it fell off. So one of the things my husband and I did was put a new roof on the side of that house, because we all were asking our families, what do you need? And they didn't tell us that. No. When we said, what do you need in your life? Pia said, I need to feed my family every day. That's all she said. But then later we heard from a gentleman who actually kind of runs this program we were going through. And he said, and I said, because there was no furniture in there, I said, well, is that just traditional to home not to have any furniture or anything? Could we buy them some chairs? But I don't want to offend them if the tradition is you sit on the floor. I didn't really get an answer to that, but they said that they would love a table and chairs to eat at, because they didn't have that either. And so, but these things are so inexpensive there that we put the roof on the side where the kitchen was, and we bought the table and chairs, and altogether we spent $300. I mean, how can you not help these people? I mean, they can't afford it at all, and that doesn't mean too much to us, $300. So, anyways, she's obviously the cook. And so these are her fishing poles. Every day she fishes, and then she brings it home and cooks it. And she has these bamboo poles. So we had quite a conversation about fishing, because my husband's a fisherman, and so we were trying to find some common ground with them to talk about. You can see right here, there's a plaque that says that this home is donated by something. I can't remember what it says there's exactly. But anyway, this home was donated to them. And underneath is a huge living space too. Under here, it's dark right now, but their clothes were hanging right in the middle, like a closet, but just open. And then on the far side, on the left, is where the kitchen is. And then there was a platform here. It's just a wooden platform. They said somebody could sleep there, like if their family, they have older kids that come then back to visit, and they might sleep like a sleeping platform. But this is their home. So it was very humbling, very, very humbling. And yet they seemed very content with their life, which was just, I think about this family in this situation many days. I mean, almost every day I think about them. And I think, when my grandkids want some little thing they can't have and get all upset, it's like, you need to go see this. So here's their home and their yard, and this part on the side over here is not theirs. It belongs to somebody else. Somebody was building. We don't know what they were building, but anyway, they did have some things they just put over there and stored, like their motorcycle. They have a motorcycle, and motorcycle is right here. And so this little guy, he was just a typical teenager. He was futzing, he was with his hair and his pimples and everything, you know. He was just a typical teenager, yeah. He was really cute. And that is it. I hope you enjoyed it. If we could have the lights, maybe, I don't know if there's any questions or... Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, do we have a little time for some Q&A? 5 minutes, okay, any questions? Yes. That's a good question, and I don't think I can really answer that. Are the governments quite different? I think they're also communist. Yeah. I did get a different feel in the two places. There was a lot more like modernity in Vietnam, a lot more like infrastructure, it seemed like. But we only went to the one city, Siem Reap, so I don't know about the others, the other rest of the country, but yeah. Sorry, I didn't have a very good answer to that. Anything else? Okay. Well, thank you for coming. Thank you.